You're listening to The Pump Fake.
And welcome into the latest edition of the Pump Fake, everybody. Jarrett Bailey with you as always. Joining me today, my good friend, Mike Tanier. Great to see you as always. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm good. We're trudging along. We're getting closer and closer to camp. We were talking in the lobby, like the Chargers and Lions are going to be opening their camps in like 10 minutes since the Hall of Fame game is in 3 weeks, which is pretty exciting. Which is great for us because like being an NFL writer in July, like you get to this point and you're like, all right, I guess I can compare, running backs to shaving creams. Somebody might read it. And it's just like, God damn. All right, let's just get through this.
Mike Payton, who covers the Lions.
Yeah.
And he was doing a thing about how they did a thing. Which coach would survive a zombie apocalypse? Now, we all know the answer is Dan Campbell.
Sure.
Right. But of course, this is able to, like, Lions writers in July could be like, Dan Campbell wins the zombie apocalypse. And Peyton's like literal lead to this is, my life is hell in July.
Yeah.
Like, this is hell. Like, please give me something to write about. And of course, in a sane world, we'd have time off.
Sure. We absolutely would. But, people don't know, like from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, you cover the NFL for a living. That must be cool. And it is. I don't take this for granted. I keep myself pretty grounded when it comes to it. It's a very great job that I have and I love doing it. It's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. But man alive, there are days where, it's July 2nd. You're like, I don't know what to talk about. What else? Luckily, the Steelers have at least kept things like they've spread all their moves out. Like, oh, thank God they traded somebody. Let's talk about it for the next month. And that's been a nice little saving grace. But like, if you're a team like Mike with the Lions, they haven't done fuck all since the draft. Like, What are you doing?
They barely did fuck all in the draft. He's getting Aiton Hutchinson some damn help. Like, nope, I'm going to do that. So they've been actually following Hutchinson around the swimming pools and rehab machines. That's what they've been like. You have the optimized experience because you added a quarterback and made a major trade.
Sure.
This time, but like our system again, logically in the old days, it's like, well, after mini camps end in like May, whatever, the football writers can go dark. They can take their family vacation. They can work on enterprise features, which means that you could like do a long-term thing that you run in August. Very few people get to do that. Everybody's got these very specified sites. So it's not like, lionsfansite.com can go dark for 2 weeks. So you have this is what
you got to crank out the content. Like, just because the NFL is slow in June and July doesn't mean that you don't have to eat less in June and July. You still gotta, do your own thing and try to find a way to get views and whatnot. So luckily training camp will be coming very soon and we'll have stuff to talk about. It won't be, comparing wide receivers to dinosaurs and shit like that. We can actually talk about football and I'm very much looking forward to it. So what we're going to do today, we're going to, try to, look inside our little magic crystal balls. We need to put something in post-production where there's like some voodoo noise in the background. And see what the NFL is going to bring, not just for this season, but the outcome of this season and how it impacts the 2026 off season and get a little bit bold with it. So I'll start with this. I've long been a guy who's just like, yeah, don't buy the Dolphins. I think that they are mostly just, they're there. They'll put up a bunch of points against, a glorified CFL team during the regular season. Mike McDaniel will do something or say something about the shoes he's wearing and hit one of his 9 vapes he keeps in his pockets during the game. And that'll be great. Once they get to January, they're a nothing team. So I do think that this year, and we've already started to see like the internal cracks become external with the Jalen Ramsey trade and the reasons why that happened. Mm-hmm. I think this year, we're going to see a full-blown implosion and restart of the Miami Dolphins, which will feature the following moves. A, Mike McDaniel's gone. Mm-hmm. They hire Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula, the grandson of Don Shula, to be their new head coach.
Okay.
After that, they trade Tua Tagovailoa to the New York Jets.
Oh, God.
Which, your Eagles traded Donovan McNabb to Washington. So it's, there's some precedent for trading quarterbacks in division.
Oh, yeah.
And after that, they then trade for quarterback Kyler Murray to be their new franchise quarterback. So Chris Shula, Kyler Murray, the new head coach quarterback in Miami. And then in free agency, they signed George Pickens.
I'm now depressed. I was in a good mood when we started the podcast. I'm depressed thinking about all that. There's a lot. First of all, you carefully avoided trading to next year to the Steelers. I saw what you did there.
I hope to God that doesn't happen.
Secondly, let me adopt the Mike McDaniel body language here from the scouting combine. Were you at his podium?
No, I avoided that at all costs. I saw him out and about like during the evening, but no, I was not. Anytime he's at the podium, though, he just looks like he is trying to quietly fart. That's kind of the body language that he gives off, is like he's buzzed and trying to decide if this fart is going to be more than a fart.
Right. This could go too far.
Yeah.
I mean, he was ill. He said he had a cold or whatever. I guess expecting the head coach to stand up straight, it makes me a boomer. I'm doing, for the defector, I'm doing Why Your Team Sucks. I'm doing the Dolphins. And I pretty much said all the things you said without the chaos gaming that you threw in at the end there, that Kyle Murray and Tua. McDaniel, it will be gone.
Yeah.
And Tua will be gone in some capacity. Trade is certainly reasonable, or he's been downgraded to the point where he demands a trade, where he's still on the roster. But hey, you have to compete next year with Daniel Jones or whatever crazy ass.
Good Christ.
That's a terrible example. One step up from Zach Wilson, like nipping at your toes.
Yeah.
Whoever that is, Justin Fields comes down.
Quinn Ewers, they drafted him.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Mr. Bumbles himself. I like Chris Shula there, because what happens with the Dolphins is they love their legacies.
Sure.
And they still love their Parcells guys, because Greer's a Parcells guy. And
Chris Greer has held that job, I think, since I was a senior in high school, and him and I have the same amount of playoff wins in that time. Like, it's actually incredible that he has held that job this long.
2016, he becomes GM.
Yeah.
I believe he gets elevated to director of scouting under Parcells. So that's like 2008, 2009. So he drafts Tannehill. He's one of the cornerstone decision makers to draft Tannehill, whether that was Tannenbaum or Ireland was the GM at that point. So he has managed to wrap his tendrils around the entire organization there. I don't think it's like that he's like this terrible, grossly incompetent person. It's just that this is what we see this offseason. It's like, okay, 8 and 9, what your attempt to build a championship caliber team 2023-24 failed. Are you going to rebuild? Are you going to go all in? Or are you just going to fart around? And this is one of the most fart around off seasons I've ever seen.
They just traded for Darren Waller. Like, what are we doing?
Traded for him. The guy who was living in the ex-husband arms somewhere, laying low, trying to escape his divorce and his Giants tenure. Like, this guy's done. He's 33.
Yeah.
He hasn't been good since 2020. He noped out of a season, and you traded for him.
They sure did.
After trading away Ramsey, and it's like, okay, you're going to get draft picks, right? Well, no, we're getting Minkah back.
No, we got Minkah Fitzpatrick back. I mean, but by the way, Minkah Fitzpatrick, good player, but not what he used to be. Like, it's clearly he's on the come down from being the 3-time All-Pro he was a few years ago. You'd think that you'd get at least like a day 3 pick for Jalen Ramsey. And not only that, you also trade away Jonnu Smith and don't get away there was a pick swap in 2027. So you're currently the draft pick that you got in return is some dude who's a 4th stringer at Coastal Carolina right now. Like, Godspeed to you.
Right. That Chris Shula will be coaching by that time. But that's exactly it. It's like, okay, well, Ramsey was on the downside too. So you trade one guy on the downside for the other. You swap out Jonnu, and Jonnu's Jonnu,
Sure.
Led the team in receptions. Now you swapped him out with Darren Waller. So you take a guy who, okay, he's Arthur Smith's weird binky. We get that. But, when Tyreek's running that way and Jaden Waddle was running that way and the defense is chasing them, Jonnu got open in the middle of the field, caught the ball, ran for a few yards. He's fine. I don't know if Waller's going to do that.
I don't either. He's going to be too busy making rap songs about Kelsey Plum to do that. I just don't know if this is gonna work. Now, I will say, in my hypothetical weird end world, like you could talk me into like a fun offense of Kyler Murray, Jaylen Waddle, and George Pickens if you get the right OC. Like that could be fun. Like it wouldn't be a rebuild, it would just be a complete redo. And if they would go that route, that would excite me a little bit for them. And I wrote about it last year when they extended to it. Like this is a team that like is a Maserati, but come January, where's that get you? Like you should have invested in like a big F-250 to get you through the winter when you got to go to Kansas City and Cincinnati, Baltimore, wherever the hell you got to go. Like you can't put snow tires on a sports car, and they have found that out the hard way. It's just a team that I can't take seriously, and I think this is the year that it all comes apart.
That's your Western Pennsylvania talking.
Absolutely.
Car in January, there's a hill, there's ice on it, and you're the Dolphins, and you're effed. You're absolutely fucked by this. And that's them. I like to say they look great in sandbox mode. They look
right.
Tutorial mode, right? That's what it is. And you could fool me in 2023 because you were breaking records in that mode. Then you went out there, get your asses kicked by the Bills, by the Ravens, by the Chiefs at the end of the season. 0-3 against that. Come back the next year. Tua gets injured again. You realize that that's going to be probably a crisis you're going to be dealing with from now on. Every time he disappears, you go 0 for his absence. 0 for his absence.
Yeah.
And you're going to keep doing that with Wilson and you don't even try to run your offense when he's not there. It's like,
they do. Yeah. Last year, who was it? It was Snoop Huntley. Yeah. Like, my goodness gracious. Yeah.
I think Huntley got a win.
I think it was against Indianapolis. No. They lost that game against Indianapolis, did they not? I thought that.
Yeah, Snoop got a win, I think.
I think you're right.
Skyler was out there for the first set of injuries, and he's been on the roster for 3 years. So he's either
he's the Steelers' fourth quarterback now,
or third or second. Who knows? But like you've been there for this many years, you can either run this offense or you can't. And if the moment you go out there, it's like, well, we're taking away all the motion and we're taking away all the formation changes, and we're just running off tackle.
Yeah. Then
you pick the wrong backup quarterback, guys. I hate to tell you that you need somebody out there who could do two fakes and toss the ball to Tyreek in the flat.
Yeah, they're a whole mess, and I think that there's two ways it could go after everything does fall apart. You can either just stink, like you can become the Saints, basically, of what this year's going to look like for them, or you can just try to scavenge what you can, which is, good pieces, and roll with, build around Jaylen Waddle, get a competent quarterback, and go from there. But a lot of it comes down to making the right head coach hire. We'll see if Chris Jewell is that. I think that this team needs a big installment of toughness, which they have very much lacked.
Yes.
Infamously running Vic Fangio out because he was, too mean.
Yeah.
Like, God almighty, grow the hell up. Enough about the Dolphins, though. My next one is that I'm going to pick Jordan Love to win MVP this year. That's kind of my little flyer there. I think last year he missed. How many games did he miss after the injury in Brazil? Was it 2?
Two full games, I think.
And, the Packers obviously got by, and a lot of that is a big credit to Matt LaFleur. When he came back, though, it was pretty evident that there was still some lingering stuff. He probably should have missed at least one more game. But regardless, still played well. And I think with a season where he's completely healthy, adding Matthew Golden to the receiving core, giving him a legit number one guy, at least they hope he can be a legit number one guy, to complement the rest of these, B- C+ guys in the rotation. I think doing that to complement his play style, which is he's very much a throwback, Jordan Love is, where he just has that arrogance of like, yeah, I can throw it there and it'll, good things will happen. Sometimes that bites him in the butt, but other times it turns out to be, a massive play. So there's a lot that I like about him just from that standpoint. But the growth that we've seen from him since like mid 2023, when things started to click, they went on that run in the second half of the year. They beat Dallas in the postseason, almost beat San Francisco in the divisional round. Ever since then, like he has just become one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think with a fully healthy season, better weapons around him, and potentially, a defense that is, we'll see what the secondary looks like. They might have to throw a little bit more to win games. So I think his numbers could get a little bit inflated because of that. I'm picking Green Bay to win that division, and I think Jordan Love will be the MVP.
I'm not picking them to win that division. By the way, plus 2,500 for MVP.
There we go.
So if you're feeling it, just throw a 10 spot on there, and you'll buy yourself something nice come January. I think that number is accurate. Plus 2,500.
Yeah, right, I think it's pretty good.
Right. My first concern is those receivers. I didn't look at Matthew Golden like, well, this is a wide receiver one in the NFL. I had to write the chapter on them, which means I really had to watch those receivers. And dear God, they're all talented as hell.
Yeah.
They are all talented as hell. And it is the most like unreliable bunch of sort of goof offs and screw ups I've seen in a long time collectively, as opposed to having one diva and everyone else is normal. Watson's injured. Like, I think as we speak, Watson's injured. So you're kind of almost like putting Golden into where Watson was supposed to be. Reed is one of the most dynamic guys with the ball in his hands that I've seen. One of the top 10 guys in that respect. Cannot catch. Cannot catch, will not adjust to a ball. So, like, if you look at his drops, it's like, well, he had a couple drops. It's like if there's a defender near him and he's got to reach here or something like that, it's trouble. Dobbs comes and goes. Wicks is they're moving.
Dobbs comes and goes both physically and figuratively and literally.
Yes. So there's a lot going on there. They move Bo Melton, the cornerback. Like, what the heck's going on with this kid?
Yeah.
Wicks has hands like ankles. So I don't necessarily see it on that. And my other problem with it is, not breaking news here, 0-6 combined against Lions, Vikings, and Eagles last year. So every team they needed to beat, they were not up to the challenge. I didn't see them getting that much better this year.
I think that, man, this could just be, my rose-tinted glasses. I think that will even out a little bit to the mean this coming year, where I don't think they'll go 0-6 against all the good teams they play. Both games against Detroit were very close. The game against the Eagles, especially in the wild card round, like, Jordan Love didn't play well, and that's incredibly fair criticism. But I do think that he'll cement himself in a division where I think Detroit's going to take a step back regardless. Like, they're not going to win 15 games again. Where do you fall on Minnesota? I think that there's far too many questions under center for me to be like, yeah, that's a Super Bowl team.
Oh, no, exactly right. Where that's a team where the expectations should be, hey, you know what? If they make the playoffs with McCarthy, and McCarthy goes out there with these weapons and plays well and looks like he's the franchise, then that's the victory for the Vikings.
Yeah.
The idea that you're going to set this high expectation isn't really reflective of where that team is.
It's just been one of those things on Twitter and other social medias where it's like, a few friends of ours who are Vikings fans, I'm not going to say it's Thor Nystrom, but who is, every time somebody says something remotely derogatory about the Vikings, like, yeah, we just don't know how good McCarthy's going to be, to just like insinuate that people are crazy for saying that. It's like, dude, we don't know. Like,
the seventh best quarterback in the draft. There were questions about him in the draft. He was basically Harbaugh's tough guy, who was handing off a lot. I'm not denigrating him here, but like, that's of course, because he's behind the curtain, and all we're getting out of this is like, oh, they're so happy with how he handles himself and his maturity and things like that. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not true, because it could all be true. It probably is true, but it's still bullshit.
Yeah. And I don't think that, no matter how wrong or inaccurate reports were that he was, that the Vikings were entertaining the thought of Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that those come out if they were 100% secure with McCarthy.
Right, and part of that also, those conversations might have been in February, where McCarthy had a surgery in November.
Right.
So they might have been sitting there saying, well, until the MRI gets back, we better pursue options. That could have been one of the things that was going on there. But, you lived through the Kenny Pickett experience.
Sure.
And when a lot of energy is being spent in the offseason, being like, we're going to talk about the leadership and the poise and things like that. In Pickett's case, it's because they were just trying to sell themselves. In this case, it's simply they don't have anything else to go on and talk about. So that's the thing that they're building there. But you can't buy into it. You can't buy into it. What you can do, by the way, is you can be like a Bears fan and be like, I'm not sure our quarterback ever wanted to be here. Yeah,
I mean, the whole the Bears fans getting slammed by Seth Wickersham's book talking about Caleb Williams. What do you make of them? I mean, since we're on the NFC North, I think that if Ben Johnson proves to be, it's a low bar with what Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron brought to the table, where Caleb was like, hey, let's watch film, and Shane Waldron's like, how about you go fuck yourself? And I'm like, oh my God, all right, sorry.
Yeah, I'm wondering how that actually went down.
Yeah, me too.
That version of events does not sound accurate, and I'm going to put my boomer hat back on, which is always on.
Okay,
and it's like, it's Carl Williams saying, "No one taught my son how to watch film."
Right.
At which I turn and say, "Did your son ask?
Mm-hmm.
Did your son say, I'm confused, I need you to go over these things with me? Or did he just walk away like, well, I guess that's it. I'll call dad and we'll go to the CFL for a year, or however that plays out. Now, granted, I get it. Shane Waldron was already halfway out the door by early in the season.
Yeah.
Eberflus was playing fucking games. It was weird. It was not an ideal situation for anybody. So it was self-fulfilling when you're like, I don't want to go to this team. That turned out to be true. You still probably should have learned some stuff from Kingsbury.
You'd
and
think.
when you came out and you didn't know that stuff, maybe you should have been talking to your coaches and saying, look, bring me in here. I'm going to start working right away. We might have to sit down. There's something on the 22-year-old to actually go out there and advocate for themselves if they don't have these skills.
I would agree. And like with everything, for the most part, the truth is somewhere in the middle. I'm sure Shane Waldron, if he was asked by Caleb Williams, hey, let's look at this, I would be incredibly surprised if Shane Waldron was just like, no.
Right,
like,
right.
All right.
Right. I'm going to run to the GM who he doesn't know how to watch film. Like, no, that's
yeah.
Right. Then you're all going to get fired. So you have to actually solve the problem. I was looking at the Bears number just now. It's 8.5.
I think 8 is where I would put it, their win total. Yeah.
It's there's a chance that Johnson figures this whole thing out and gets Williams comfortable being a Jared Goff-like quarterback. Think about that, especially if you remember Caleb in college.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a chance that this is just the usual Bears thing where it's like, oh, quarterback and the coach don't fit. They don't fit together. So.
Yeah, and I think that there's got to be a healthy give and take too, where like you don't want to completely Jared Goffify Caleb Williams.
Oh no!
But for some things, like when it comes to just hey, these are certain concepts that we can do where you don't got to run around. Like the options are going to be right there. We're going to give you the answers to the test. But on the occasion where things break down, we know you can do that. Feel free to do some ad-libbing and create. I think there's going to be a healthy amount of give and take if they want to be successful. But they are one of the more intriguing teams to me. And then like we'll put a bow on the NFC North here, but with the Packers, I think that Matt LaFleur is one of the 5 to 7 best coaches in the NFL. I think Love is approaching. I put him in the top 10, not quite top 5, because that's a very exclusive group, but a guy who I see a lot in, and I think in that division, they're personally the team that I'm picking. I did it last year. They didn't quite meet the expectations, so I'm kind of double dipping on that regard, but I'll stick with Green Bay in that regard.
And when you look at like that playoff game against the Eagles and you look at Love, like he had like the ugly interception, but you can see, I think it was one of the tight ends slips and falls and he throws it right to Bond. There were a couple of Jaden Reed specials where it looked like the 3rd and 5 play was for Reed to go in motion before the snap and wiggle, get open. And like, he can't haul in the pass.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple of deep shots where he was taking deep shots and it's Bo Melton or Wicks, or there was another receiver whose name is blanking on me. And this is who you're relying on to catch the ball.
Oh, is it Malik Heath?
Yeah. You're tossing. We're going to chuck it deep to Malik Heath being covered by Quinyon Mitchell or Darius Slay. And this is our critical play to get back into the game. It's like, that dude's not going to come down with the ball.
Yeah.
That dude's not going to come down with the ball. So Love could benefit, and Golden is a good vertical guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think MVP is a tall order, but like I'm not like this anti-Jordan Love person. So
yeah, and I think with that, it's just we see it every once in a while with MVP awards. Like I don't think Matt Ryan was anybody's pick to win it back in 2016. Right. We see these guys who we know are good take a big step forward. I think that Love is more talented than a lot of the guys in the league. It's just a matter of harnessing it in and having everything come together. In terms of trades, we talked about one already. There's going to be some in-season trades that I think take place, which would correlate with some teams not living up to expectation. I think it's fair to say that the Saints are going to be bad.
Yeah.
I think it would make sense for them to just move on from Cam Jordan and Tyrann Mathieu, send them to contending teams that could get you something. Don't know if they're going to, because the Saints just seem like that team is like, we'll power through it.
I think they have no trade clauses, these guys, and all of their contracts are super poison pilly. But if you go to like the whole thing with Jordan, especially right now, is like he is Mr. New Orleans. And if you try to trade him, if there's not a no trade clause, for $87 million in dead money hits right away.
Oh, that's a lot of dead money.
And then he looks at that organization, looks at Loomis like, fuck you into the sun. Because I raised my family here and things like that. If they can do some of that shit, they should. But like they've painted themselves in a damn corner with that. But I'm sorry if I ruins your.
No. I'm saying more so from the player perspective, not from the organization. Whereas, like, if Cam Jordan, like, say they're like 1-8 or whatever the deadline, and Cam Jordan's like, actually, I'd like to play for a contender. I'm 36 or whatever, and I haven't played for a good team in God knows how long.
Right.
Maybe send me to a Green Bay, send me to a Buffalo where I could, potentially win. It just comes down to if they would be able to honor that or not. Same thing with Tyrann Mathieu, where he's won a Super Bowl, so it's a little bit different. He wants to play in front of New Orleans. So, like, I would get that to a degree. But for Cam Jordan, a guy who hasn't really played on a lot of great teams, like, I think it would make sense for him to want to, end his career with, potentially winning a championship.
Yeah, if he wants to. Did he get a ring? He goes
with
back.
The Chiefs.
No, Jordan, 2011.
I don't think he's got one.
2011 was his rookie year. He was in a ton of 12 and 4 teams back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can see him saying, "Yeah, send me to Detroit, please."
Yeah,
a year, and then I'll come back. But again, even then, even if he's amenable to it, the cap hits
pretty substantial
are nuts on this team, right? Where they could actually just stab themselves in the heart by trying to make some of these moves.
Well, on top of the Saints thing, though, I do think, and I did like a mock draft with this thing too, even though I hate mock drafts. But for the exercise, I think that they'll finish with the number 1 overall pick, and the quarterback they will take is Garrett Nussmeier because his dad is the current offensive coordinator in New Orleans.
Oh, perfect.
So there you go.
And Nussmeier is a very, very good prospect.
And Nussmeier is good, yes.
I've done no work on this, but of course, Arch Manning would be sitting there in New Orleans. And
we assume. There's a lot of people who think that he's going to wait till 2027 because he's played like 13 snaps or whatever the hell.
He's played 13 snaps. He wasn't that good behind Ewers. His NIL value is just like, I can just make so much money.
Right.
My last names. So that's a thing there. But like if he's sitting there and New Orleans is on the clock and those are your 2 choices, it would be interesting times for the Saints press pool. Let's put it that way. I
feel like management wise, they'd be like, I mean, Arch Manning will rake in money and people will flood the stadium. I mean, fans flood the stadium now, no matter how bad they are. That's a loyal fan base.
Yeah.
But if you get Arch, like, I think that if they were given the option, they would take Arch. But if Arch does stay and Nussmeier's there and he has a good year, father-son duo, I mean, it writes itself.
Yeah, I think they have a loyal fan base because the Superdome's air conditioned.
That's fair.
You ever been down? By the way, my wife and I are going to New Orleans in November.
Are you?
When it should be decently not steamy.
Just to go?
Just to go because I was down there with Aaron Schatz for the Super Bowl and it was phenomenal. And it's like it's been 25 years since I brought my wife down here, so I'm hoping to get like nice November. You don't get crisp weather. They don't have.
Oh no,
weather
it's down there. Louisiana.
Not steam room weather, and I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, it's 3 hours in the air conditioning. You watch Spencer Rattler for 3 hours in the air conditioning when you're in New Orleans.
Is there any team that you think will take like a notable step back in 2025? That was pretty good last year, maybe a playoff team last year that people are going to be high on that you're a little bit low on.
Gosh, I don't have anybody chambered up right now. I'm going to look at the projections real quick.
I mean, not to be the second straight year where I just piss off Broncos fans, but
well, the thing is, when you're doing it 2 straight years, it's almost like it's talking to you a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
The Vikings are the step back team.
I would, 100%. We're on board with the Vikings being the team. It's like, all right, let's slow down a little bit.
And Denver appears to be sitting in the middle of the pack of like they're going to be a wild card team. And
I don't think the defense is going to be number 1 in the league again. It's going to be very good, but there's going to be it's hard to do that for so long. It's going to be a top 5 unit, I would say. The only thing that worries me about them is like outside of Cortland Sutton, man. Who are you throwing the ball to?
Right. Now Mims is a great, wiggly, nifty, shifty guy.
Sure.
Evan Ingram's
Evan Ingram. Who's the Vele, who everybody in Denver seems to like a lot.
Yeah, you know what? They had rhythm with him. And he's I'm trying to get to his name exactly right here. Yeah, Devon Vele.
Yeah.
But like that's like a good little player. It's not like, well, Vele is going to be the difference maker.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not Spags isn't laying in bed staring at the ceiling saying, how the fuck am I going to stop Devon Vele? Like
right. It's like, oh man, he came through on 3rd and 7 with that 8-yard catch. No, he's a good ball player for that. They replaced Williams with J.K. Dobbins as the always hurt running back who's theoretically good. So they made sure that was taken care of. I got the up here. R.J. Harvey, who was a
UCF kid.
UCF kid. I thought that was the indie singer from years ago. They brought Trent Sherfield in. That's good for the special teams. Not a playmaker core that says, "Oh, this is going to open shit up for Bo Nix." The projections, by the way, have the Broncos with the second best defense in the NFL.
I was going to say it's still going to be a very good unit.
And they added guys, So like that's strong. But like I don't have any like enthusiasm for like, well, this is the Broncos doing this or that. Like 10 wins.
I think everybody outside of Denver is very realistic about Bo Nix, where it's just like, he had a very nice year and a system that Sean Payton helped do a lot of window dressing for him and didn't ask him to do a whole lot after the first month or so, where it was evident, okay, we got to take some off this guy's plate and just make things easier for him. So I do think there's going to be some regression there just naturally.
Right.
And, our buddy Matt Verderam said, the question is, all right, is he still going to be good, or is this going to be a Mac Jones situation where he has a great rookie year and then just falls apart?
He felt like he was better than Mac Jones.
Right.
But I get that in that, like, you didn't hand me this person that you drafted or signed that says, well, here is the guy who like prevents that, the insurance policy against that kind of regression. That's not on the roster.
Right. So that's a team where I look at them. I still would say they're probably going to be the second best team in the AFC West because I can't be bothered to give a shit about the Chargers anymore.
God, you've turned to the good side.
I mean, like, I still like Justin Herbert. And I've long been one of the people who says, all right, these things aren't, excuses, they're reasons. And last year he did a lot with nothing, like Lad McConkey and a bunch of dudes. He still went 26 touchdowns, 3 picks. And I understand that. I understand that a couple of those interceptions against Houston weren't his fault technically, but you got to win that game, dude. You got to win that game.
Right. You're playing against the next big thing. You were the big thing. The next big thing comes in. He's being protected by a bunch of guys who flunked out of dive bar bouncer school, and he's getting the job done. Yeah. And again, everything with me turns into some fucking referendum.
I know.
Obviously a very, very good quarterback, but he has not done this elevation thing. We are always talking about how there's no weapons. And this year, hey, there's no weapons. And the offensive coordinator was never good enough, even when it was Kellen Moore. And now, hey, the offensive coordinator is Roman. We know it's not good enough. So whatever we think of Justin Herbert, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
I think I ranked him number 9 in my quarterback rankings. Like, I'm not going to put him in that top 5 anymore until can you win a playoff game, dude? Even going back to the Jaguars game, I know that you weren't allowing Trevor Lawrence to go up and down the field. Win the game, dude. You're up by 30 points and you can't win that.
You need to generate some first downs in the second.
Yes.
You lose the capability to generate some first downs and move the ball when you've got a 30-point lead. It's not all on you, certainly, but we're on year 6 and we're on 0 playoff wins, and we're on his record against the Chiefs is something like 1 in 5 or something. It's like that. And if you throw in the record against the Bills and the Ravens and some of these other teams, it's a real low record. And it's like, this is who you are in this situation. Now, could you be something different in some other situation? I'm sure if we gave you Justin Jefferson and all, it'd be different. In the reality we live in now, this is kind of what it is. And we're talking about 3rd place in the NFC West again.
Yeah. And I'm already over the whole Harbaugh thing. Like, they signed Najee Harris. They had a golden opportunity to draft Matthew Golden to get him like another receiver. And they said, nah, fuck it. We're going to draft a Marion Hampton, another running back.
Right.
Run the ball. That's 1972. Actually, we're just never going to throw. We got this dude with a huge arm. Nah, we're just going to run it 50 times a game. All right. Good luck. Have fun in January when you got to face Mahomes.
Oh God. Right. Yeah. No. And that's not a bad 1-2 punch, assuming Harris is number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at this. Yeah. They brought Mike Williams back.
I forgot they brought back the ghost of Mike Williams.
And the ghost of Keenan Allen, who was cooked like that, like what's in your crock pot right now.
Yeah.
He's freaking cooked. And they're talking about bringing him back. That's ridiculous. Quentin Johnson showed some flickers of life. Hey, that's great. McConkey looks like he's very good. This is bad. Trey Harris, by the way, I think is not a good second-round pick.
People are going to try to talk themselves into it, especially like Chargers fans who like want to drink the Kool-Aid. And I totally get that. Like, as a Steelers fan, like I totally get trying to talk yourself into bad receivers. I get it. Like, everybody's like, oh, Roman Wilson, it's his ear. Probably not, but I get trying to talk yourself into it. So
this kid, Trey Harris might be the Chase Claypool
Oh, Lord.
Example, because Trey Harris had he was injured the second half of the year when Ole Miss played anyone.
Right. Oh, yeah. I'm sure he had like an 11 catch game against like lunch meat A&M.
Yeah. That was exactly it. Like he's going up against an 18-year-old future gym teacher from some IAA, FCS, whatever you call it, program, and he's schooling him, and Dart's just playing pitch and catch with him, etc. And later in the season against Georgia, he ain't playing, he ain't there.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's and I understand like you can't control the injuries and whatnot, but it would have been good to see him against somebody like competition that's actual competition, not just a glorified tune-up game.
The scout team, right? And he was a transfer in, so I don't think we have a lot of stuff behind that. But yeah, that's Herbert's target. So when people say later, well, Herbert had nobody to throw to, they've got a point.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but now we're on year 7, right? Then you still got to do the do.
Yeah, and not to compare him to Mahomes or anything like that, because it's not the same thing. But like Mahomes won a Super Bowl with Richie James and Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. Like,
right,
figure it out.
Right, yeah, figure out something. Figure out a way to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
So
I do think that Denver is going to probably be the second best team in that division, but I do think they don't make the playoffs. And I think, but where do you fall on the Raiders? Let's talk about the Raiders since we're already in the AFC West. I've seen a lot of, what's that?
Yeah, the Raiders guest on, according to the intro.
I did, yeah. Shout out to Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I'm not going to talk crap on him. I just don't think that they're a playoff team, and I think a lot of people are getting a little bit ahead of themselves when it comes to
how are they a playoff team?
I mean, I'm saying people that I don't want to like call people out or anything. So if you see this, I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying, these are people I respect who think that they're going to be. Our buddy JP Acosta is really high on the Raiders.
Okay.
Jordan Rodrigue, very high on the Raiders.
Okay.
And, me and Verderam talked about this a few weeks ago, and he made the great point. He's like, where are they great? Max Crosby's great. Outside of that, Brock Bowers is great. Geno Smith is an upgrade and a grown-up. Pete Carroll, good head coach and a grown-up. I think that people overrate Geno Smith a good bit. Not that he's a bad quarterback, but all like the dude film bros were like, oh, check out this 9-yard curl route where he reads the defense perfectly. And just before the quarterback gets on his back heel, Geno rips it. And shut up.
Right. Like, and then when he gets to the red zone, he throws the ball directly.
Yeah, I was going to say, he'll throw a pretty deep ball right before he throws it to a safety like it's intended for him inside the 5-yard line.
Right. And we're not talking about a prospect here. We're talking about a 34-year-old.
Yes.
This is who you are. Max Crosby is indeed absolutely great, but that doesn't make their defensive front or pass rush that great, although they have Wilkins as well. The Giants have a great pass rush.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm saying plus 330 for the Raiders to make the playoffs. I would not touch that.
I'm not touching that.
Not with your money, I wouldn't touch it. JT is a plus 250 rookie of the year. I'd grab that.
Yeah, that's fine. I think I actually picked him to win Rookie of the Year. I think he's great. That offense is going to run through him and Brock Bowers. Jacoby Myers is like fun, but not. He's a number 2 on a great team. So I think that there's a lot to be desired there in terms of the receiving core. And in that, if they were in the NFC South, maybe, probably.
Yeah,
but they're not.
Right. And Bowers, again, it's like this super high volume thing. We're just funneling passes through him to keep a functional offense. Not that he's a bad player, but like the 100 and some catches from your tight end is speaking to you that everything else was dysfunctional, and this was available to your quarterbacks, and it was keeping the lights on to a degree. I don't see it, but now you mention it. Now AFC West has 2 teams with a great running game and a film bros choice quarterback. So like the Chargers and the Raiders can now compete with each other for the secretly awesomeness.
The trust me, bro quarterbacks.
The Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival for the film aficionados.
Yes, the facsimile, just absurd. I don't even know what words to describe it anymore. But I like Justin Herbert. I like Geno Smith.
Yeah.
I calm down a little bit on him. All right, well, we might as well get into this now. Put on my Steelers hat. I think the Steelers are going to win 11 games and win a playoff game.
Seeing your high.
Let me look at my crystal ball here for a minute.
Fucking denial. Go ahead, make the statement.
Yeah, this is a team at one point last year was 10-3 with worse quarterback play than they're going to get this year. I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Russ and Justin Fields in my opinion. Upgraded defensively with bringing in Derek Harmon to put up front with Hayward and Benton and Watt. If they also had some injuries last year where Alex Highsmith missed some time, Herbig missed some time too. So I think health-wise, they'll be better in that regard too. Secondary-wise, I know that they traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick, but I think they kind of won the trades. I think Jalen Ramsey at this point in his career is more useful and better than what Minkah is. So you have him play a bunch of different spots, nickel, maybe a little bit of safety, maybe a little bit of the boundary with Porter and Slay on the outside. Like, defense is going to be very good, we would think. And then offensively, DK feels like an upgrade over George Pickens. We know Calvin Austin can play a little bit. Running back wise, I think it's probably good that Jaylen Warren's going to be getting the majority of the touches over Najee Harris, who's gone. They draft Caleb Johnson, who I like. And then we'll see where Jonnu Smith fits in. I think overall roster wise, they're better. And like I said, Rodgers is better than any quarterback play that they had last year. And if they can just avoid what seems to be an annual just falling off a cliff, shitting their pants every week after Thanksgiving, then that can be a team that, if they can get that 11th win, I think that they'll draw probably the AFC South. And those are teams that I think they can beat. If they have to go to Buffalo, they're not going to win. If they have to go to Kansas City, they're not going to win. I won't bet on them to beat Baltimore or Cincinnati, but those are teams that they can beat. There's familiarity within the division. They win those games pretty often. But with the upgrades that they have, there's like very little excuse. By the way, if Mike Tomlin does the same shit that he's done for the past 10 years with this group, then they're not going to move on. He's there through 2027, but I'm already checked out of it. But this is a very much like, all right, you put all your chips into this year to try to end this drought. Go do it. Like the talent is there, make it work. So win 11 games, win a playoff game, and just end this drought where we got to talk about the same thing every year.
So are you predicting or wishing?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, I think we're leaning on the wishing. I think they're going to collapse. Honestly, I think Rodgers is worse than the Wilson Fields right now.
We'll disagree there, but sorry, continue.
Disagree there. A lot of what you look at Rodgers, when you look at the bulk statistics, it's the difference between two quarterbacks that were always in close games in Rodgers and in Wilson and Fields that were playing very close to the vest, and their statistics reflect that to a degree. Rodgers is down by 2 touchdowns all the time last year, and he's flinging short passes, and he's foaming up his stats a little bit along the way. I think he's done. I don't like your receiving core at all.
I don't love it either.
You don't? I hate it. I mean, Metcalf is probably an upgrade over Pickens in that he's not going to sulk immediately. The sulk bar,
it'll be a slow burn.
Yeah, like the bar takes slower to get to complete like meltdown at the end. It's fatigue bar or whatever. Hit points of sulking. Everybody else is a joke. Robert Woods is penciled in right now as one of your receivers. Jaylen Warren is going to give you the Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison season of finally the number 2 guy is going to be the number 1. We got rid of that idiot at the top, and you realize you can't handle the workload. That's
why you got Caleb Johnson.
I'm not a big Caleb Johnson fan.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I don't get your offensive line. Well, so here comes the defense. So, by the way, you're not paying your best guy. I'm sure that will get worked out by the end there. I am looking at like a 6-win season. I'm looking at the fall of the house of Tomlin here, as predicted by Rodgers, who caused the fall of the house of McCarthy and the fall of the entire the collapse of the Jets from collapse to like double collapse or whatever they did. The Chernobyl sarcophagus falls. And the only thing you've got going for you right now that isn't like setting off these alarms is that Rodgers showed up right before all availabilities went dark, muttered one bunch of things, doesn't have the New York media following him around anymore. Yeah. So whatever crazy ass shit he's doing where he has decided who his pets are going to be, how does he mesh with Arthur Smith?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. And by the way, we know where Jonnu Smith is going to fit in. 75% of the offense is going to be funneled to him because that's what fucking Arthur Smith did it with the Falcons. It's like, this is the freaking source code, this weirdo. And Rodgers is going to blow him off. I'm going to blow him off. I'm going to run around a little bit. I'm going to go like this to Metcalf. I'm going to chuck it. He's tall. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a disaster.
My only pushback with people saying it's going to be a disaster and they're going to win 6 games is I feel like a lot of people have said that like for the last 8 years.
True.
And they won 10 games with Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph. They won it last year with Russell Wilson, who fell apart at the end of the year. Like until I see that happen, I'm not going to predict it to happen. And I'm not a Mike Tomlin guy by any means, but he's gonna get them to probably at least 9, like he always does.
Right.
I would be very surprised if from everything that I've seen with worse rosters and worse quarterback play. I would be very shocked if this is the year that everything falls apart, just because of the talent that is there, and just the fact that he's done it with far worse in the past.
I think a lot of people are underestimating how bad Rodgers was last year.
Mm.
I think he hit it statistically. Everyone stopped paying attention to them. Everything was on the sideshow about the Jets. And he is about to turn 42 by the end of this season and was almost unplayable at times in the second half of last year. But, of course, was the unbenchable man, and who would you bench him for anyway?
Sure.
And you're getting him on the front end of this with a playbook that he just got handed on May 25th and is probably looking at like what the fuck is this? So, which I would look at possibly Arthur Smith's playbook. We're counting a lot on the defense and the sort of Tomlin way. That's how I say about that team.
Yeah. With Arthur Smith's offense, though, I mean, there is a lot of play action, fuck it, chuck it balls too. So I think Aaron will at least be like, all right, I can do a little bit of that.
Right. Well, that's what it'll be. It'll be fucking chuck it balls, which is what Russell Wilson was doing last year. Russell Wilson can still move a little.
He thinks he can move a little bit more than he actually can.
Right. And I think he was willing to take a hit. Justin Fields is too willing to take a hit.
Right.
Rodgers will get rid of that ball if there's anyone within eye shots. Even to the point where it's like you're facing the Browns. It's like, well, we'll pencil in those 2 Browns wins or whatever, even though I think they split last year. Myles Garrett's in the vicinity. The ball's going out of bounds. I'm telling you.
That is one thing with Aaron is I'm throwing it away.
Throw it away and start shaking his head and start going to the sidelines in his own little world. And when it's a good thing Pickens isn't there because those two are in two very.
Could you imagine? I would kill to be a fly on the wall in a locker room that featured Aaron Rodgers, George Pickens. And you remember in March, there was people who were like, oh, yeah, they can sign Rodgers and then draft Shedeur Sanders. What?
Right. Well,
that's okay.
Right. And then have Dion circling headquarters while Shedeur shows up, with the headphones on and all these other things we're hearing about and all this stuff. Oh, that'd be perfect.
Yeah,
that really tests Tomlin's ability to keep everybody on track.
I think that would be like just all right. How far can we push Mike Tomlin before he snaps and just goes batshit insane? That would have been the perfect time to do Hard Knocks.
Wait till they get a load of me. He'd pull a Peyton and retire.
I think so. I think that would make perfect sense for Mike. He was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I'll take a year off, do TV or something, and then go coach somewhere else.
Seattle or somewhere, yeah.
Speaking of coaches somewhere else. Okay, so I did predict the coaches in terms of where the jobs that will be available and who I think will take them. So let me get that pulled up here super duper quick if I can find it. Meanwhile, all right, so I know this much. I put Chris Shula in Miami.
All right.
I'm going to put Mike McCarthy in New York with the Giants. I think that he's able to handle big markets. He's done it in Dallas. He did it with a cornerstone franchise in Green Bay for a long time. I think that's a guy that the Giants can look at and say, he's done it other places that get a lot of media attention. We'll bring him in as the head coach. I know people dunk on Mike McCarthy a lot. He's got the same playoff record as Mike Tomlin. So, and he's got a Super Bowl win. So maybe Mike McCarthy gets a little bit too crapped on.
And some of what we get is the nonsense from Rodgers, and some of what we get is the nonsense from Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
I can see the Giants doing it. I mean, Daboll might not make it through October.
Yeah, that whole thing. What's the over-under of games before he physically assaults Jameis Winston?
Well, I don't think Winston will play. That'll be
no, he doesn't have to. Russ will throw a horrible pick, and Jameis will come over and be like, "Oh, it's all right." It was like, "Shut the fuck up right now."
Right.
We talking in haikus or whatever. Be like, "Dude,
Lord shall rescue me from pick sixes." Is like, yeah, I'm going to rescue.
I'm gonna launch my foot in your ass. That's what's gonna happen. So yeah. That whole thing feels like a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the combinations of the quarterback and the owner is up there just being Mara. People don't recognize what a mealy mouth little backstabby guy for the Mara really is. And it's almost like he kept Daboll around so that he could act like, I'm not amused by how this is going, and then make a move something.
Right.
when they're like 2-6 or whatever. So, and then McCarthy bring it in would make sense.
Yeah, and I think that at least with McCarthy, you have an established guy there that has proven that he can win. I think that would make sense. I think in Cleveland, they're going to move on from Stefanski, but Stefanski will get a job.
Oh, yeah.
I think he'll go to Dallas, personally.
You one and done in Schottenheimer?
I think so. Nothing against Brian Schottenheimer, although there's a decent amount of people who are thinking like, hey, maybe Brian Schottenheimer would be a better head coach than a coordinator, which maybe. I'm not going to completely rule things out, but I'm not going to expect it. So I think it could be a one and done situation. If a coach of the year becomes available, I think Steven and Jerry would jump on that to bring in Kevin Stefanski. I
mean, I don't know if Jerry pays is on top of things.
Right. It would be more of a Steven decision, right?
Steven decision. He'd have to run it through. And remember, Jason Garrett last 8 or 9 seasons.
He did. You're right.
Because it's like if you don't rock the boat there and you do that good coach, bad coordinator thing where it's like, well, practices are running well and nobody's complaining to the media, you could wind up staying a lot of years in Dallas. Stefanski, though, if he figures out a way to escape, because Stefanski is if he's fired, he'll be the happiest man on earth.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kevin Stefanski's not going to be shedding any tears if he has to leave Cleveland.
Right, and he'll be like, I'll end up in Miami battling Chris Shula.
Or that, yeah, why not?
Right. And it's like, if the worst comes to worst, McVay brings me in for offensive coordinator for 1 year while I polish the apple. But no, he'd get a job fast.
Yes, I completely agree. I think Brian Flores will get a job, and I think it will be in Cleveland. That's where I projected him to go. And he's going to bring Josh McCown, former Browns quarterback, with him to be the OC.
That's not terrible. And then, in Cleveland, because, Flores hates quarterbacks and wants to hurt them. Put him in a room with Deshaun. Win-win. Everybody wins.
He's just gonna make Deshaun the full-time scout guy. All right, we're gonna go no offensive line. Miles, just go ahead.
I mean, he'll physically hurt Deshaun, which is great.
Yeah,
he'll chase Deion away with a stick. He'll assume Dylan Gabriel's a water boy, and so, and he'll assume Flacco's the assistant quarterback coach, so he'll leave them alone a little bit. And then they can find a quarterback there that would meet his standards.
Yeah.
While he goes out there and Miles Garrett's well, I'm happy.
Yeah. And they'll draft a guy, he'll be able to draft his guy, which will be nice, whether that be a Lenore Sellers or an Aller or Nusma, whoever it will be, they can kind of start anew.
Yeah. They just draft the defensive end and put him back there and let him run.
Sure. Let Miles play quarterback. Who gives a shit? You're paying him all that money.
Right. Meanwhile, you're blitzing everyone, and Miles Garrett's in the middle of a blitz, which means the other quarterback's dead, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Both quarterbacks are dead. It's perfect. Perfect for his football.
Less than great. Here, let me see if I can actually pull it up. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I can actually pull it up here and then just read off what I wrote in my notes for it. Because I want to be sure I get everybody that I put down and not leave anybody out. So let's scroll down here. Past this. Everybody listening as a podcast or watching on YouTube are sitting on the edge of their seats. Okay, so New Orleans, I think Kellen Moore will also be a one and done, and I think they'll bring in Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator, who used to be on the Saints staff, used to be LSU's pass game coordinator. He's got ties to the area. I think he interviewed for that job this past offseason, but decided to stay in Buffalo. So he eventually goes to New Orleans, and they start anew as well with a new quarterback. Spoiler, I don't think the Kellen Moore, Tyler Shuck days are long in New Orleans.
The only thing's keeping Moore in place, again, is this team trying to save money. I don't know how much they gave him contract money, et cetera.
Right.
But they just been like, okay, we give you this poop year, and then we're going to give you another year. But I'm not a big Kellen Moore stan. Obviously, what he did for the Eagles was great. It seems like that was a good place for him, where he is already working with an offensive oriented head coach, and he's working with an established quarterback, and he's in there adding seasonings to the mix so much. But we'll see, because he's never been tested as a head coach.
Here's a fun little comp for you. I could see Kellen Moore being to the Eagles what Josh McDaniels is to the Patriots. Where he'll get a couple opportunities, but he'll always go back to Sirianni and be like, all right, I'll call plays for another year.
Right. Well, I mean, he could run back to Dallas too at any time.
That too.
Forever. He was there forever, and it's go back there and do the same thing Schottenheimer's doing now that Garrett used to do. And, get paid, raise your kids, whatever.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. And then the last one, I want to buy into the Panthers a little bit because I think Bryce Young did a lot of really fun stuff in the last month of the year.
Yes.
But that defense is really bad. So I think they're going to stay in-house. They will just promote Ejiro Evero to be the head coach. And move on from Dave Canales, who will go get an offensive coordinator job right away. Very good offensive coordinator, just put in a bad situation that everybody was kind of doomed to fail. But I think Ejiro Evero, one of the better defensive minds in football, they go kind of a different way where Canales is the offensive mind. All right, let's try something new. We'll just promote Ejiro, make sure that he doesn't leave because I think losing Ejiro Evero would be even a more detrimental loss for Carolina. So they just promote him and he becomes the head coach in Carolina.
It sounds like a very on-brand sort of random, quick, let's just do something else. Tepper direction for that. I mean, I don't know Canales one way or the other in terms of like a empire builder, but like if he left, yes, he would get the coordinator job back at Tampa. He'd go to Liam Cohn. He'd go into the McVay pool. He'd do fine. Defensive coordinator is good there, but this is not a team. This is of all the teams you talk about where their fans are like, oh, we're on board with this. Panthers fans are on board with this.
Yeah.
And it does not look from the outside looking in, doing stat research, looking at the film more carefully. No.
Yeah. And they've tried a few things. Like they fleeced the Cowboys and got a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo, so that's cool. But like, the receivers.
But like some of their other picks are already like going. Like Jonathan Brooks is already injured for next year.
Yeah. And it looks like who's the offensive lineman they took a couple years ago in the first round who struggled.
Equana?
Yes. Who he's yes. So I mean that hasn't exactly worked out yet. Right. Xavier Legette, you better do something this year, Bob, because there's people already asking questions.
Have you seen how swole he is?
And have you heard how his voice?
I love the way he talks.
I do too. No, that's what I'm saying. Like people focus too much like on like the sweetheart in him, and he seems like a lovely guy, but like you gotta produce on the field, Bob.
and bulking up to tight end size is a great way to be Devin Funches or Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah.
Right. Like they do this all the time in Carolina. Like, look how swole he is. He's not an edge rusher. Okay, he's supposed to be a Debo type of guy. If he's getting bigger, he's probably getting slower. And he's a unique dude. He's an interesting personality.
Yeah, like he seems like a very awesome guy and a very fun hang, but produce on the field while doing that stuff too, so they can win games.
And they also brought in the big wide receiver one out of Arizona. Who'd they bring in? The rookie
out of Arizona. Oh, Ted McMillan.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I wasn't a huge fan of that guy either.
I don't think Ted McMillan is going to be a superstar. I'll say that.
No, he's one of these guys that's like, he can out jump guys at college. That means he didn't get separation from them.
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah, look, I hope he does great. Not wishing anything bad upon him, but it's just I don't necessarily see him being a star. Adam Thielen's still probably their best receiver.
Hunter Renfro's down there trying to make a comeback.
Oh, I forgot Hunter Renfro's there. Oh, what a time. I do love Hunter Renfro, though.
Yeah. Let's hope for the best. But, like, if that's what you're looking at, like, we have all the 30-something white guys at wide receiver you could possibly ask for. Not the best strategy. I'm sorry.
Our receiving core looks like a 60s ABA team.
Yeah. Cole Beasley's knocking on the door.
Oh, that's funny. So that is the head coaching line of things. Do you have a Super Bowl prediction that you've put out yet? If not, I don't want to spoil anything.
ABA team.
Did you like that?
Come from? Yeah, where did that one come from?
I don't know. I thought it was, pretty good.
It was like what's your frame of reference for the ABA?
Semi-pro.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Like Will Ferrell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm like the Virginia Squires. Like I started having these like flashbacks. I was little. I had like a set of ABA basketball cards.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
And all the teams had these weird names. Some of them did merge and everything, but they had the red, white, and blue ball.
Yeah.
And everybody had an afro, especially the white guys. It was really an interesting time in history. Super Bowl prediction. I don't have anything changed.
Not yet.
It's too soon. Like
that's fair.
Season predictions and all. I'll tell you, I mean, the Almanac's very high on the 49ers making a bounce back. The Almanac, which comes out on Monday, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Make sure to get all that in. We'll have Aaron Schatz on this program soon to talk all things Almanac as well, which is always a fun time of year having Aaron on. But yes, going by the FTN Fantasy, Aaron Schatz's football almanac.
FTN, like FTN football almanac Aaron Schatz's 2025. Go to ftn.com to get it. And like I look at the AFC, and it's like, oh, you'll be surprised who the 3 AFC teams at the top are, right? And then there's a big gap, and the statistics line up with common sense and observations on that. So
yeah, I think it's fair to say it'll be one of 3 teams that come out of the AFC.
Yeah.
I think the NFC is a little bit deeper. So you can talk me into a few teams there. I think the Rams are my pick to come out of the NFC this year.
Yeah,
I don't think it's super crazy. I'd love to say the Bills, and I wrote the Bills, but in my heart of hearts, it's going to be until they show me that they can. I can't fully believe it, but I'll write it and be wishful.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all stuck in this world where neither they or the Ravens have done it.
Yeah.
And none of the other teams have done it against them. So you're stuck with this sort of aristocracy where it's like, well, every stat says the Bills or Ravens should be able to do it. They seem like they're better teams than the Chiefs right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep going out there and making us all look like they have some sort of magical powers and we're all idiots. So.
I mean, I'll say as a Steelers fan, I'd rather see the Chiefs win the next 10 than see the Ravens win 1. But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
Yeah. What do you have coming on Too Deep Zone?
Too Deep Zone. We just did the all-time Vikings top 5 signature moments.
Oh, I love that.
And if you check it out, I like quoting old sports writers. I found one of the most racist things I've ever read. I mean, that's not true because I read stuff from the 50s, but like from like recent humans, I had to share the entire quote. That's on there for the Vikings. But like Vikings signature moments now. Next week, I'm kind of laying pretty low. There'll be some just silly stuff on there. But the almanac comes out on Monday. So if you're like, how do I promote Mike Tanier? It's like you go to ftn.com, you look for the almanac, you click it, you pre-order. You can pre-order the PDF. You got to wait a week or 2 to get one of these bad boys up here, one of the paper copies. But come check it out. You can check out all the stuff FDN has for gambling, for fantasy, Aaron Schatz's stuff, other experts. Come check it out.
Yeah. Oh, and I think this is the first, maybe the second podcast that I've done since the top 30 quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era began rolling out. And I'm incredibly happy with how everything went. Mike was a part of the panel. The first 2 parts are out. Part 1 is coming out, or part 3, excuse me, is coming out soon, where we reveal 10 through 1. Ooh. So very, very happy with how things turned out. It got a ton of positive feedback from it. So I'm very, very happy with how it's turned out. So go and read that. It's on SB Nation, parts 1 and 2, top 30 quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. And I knew immediately that there was going to be a lot of Johnny Unitas discourse, even though we put so many things in there. It was like Super Bowl era. And there's still people who are pissed, but that's okay.
Oh, for God's sake. Where are these old people coming from that are reading SB Nation? Like, you didn't include Unitas. It's like, you can only count 5 years of Unitas.
Right.
Ty Dunn and I did a little podcast, and we were talking.
I saw that. Yes. And by the way, thank you for doing that. Shout out to you and Ty Dunn for doing a nice podcast, plugging all of that. That was very sweet of you guys. I appreciated that.
My pleasure. It was very Packer centric, as Ty Dunn's going to be, because it's like,
right.
By the way, I haven't looked at the latest one. Both Rodgers and Favre still on the board for 10 through 1, or
they are. So both of them are on the board. I did the summary write up for both of them, actually. So everybody. Cool. Yeah, so everybody can read all of that when it comes out. But yeah, go and read parts 1 and 2 that get us from 30 to 11. Who did you do? I already forget. You did Bob Greasy.
I did Bob Greasy,
And who did I have you do? Somebody that hasn't been revealed yet? Is that something that
I don't recall? I put them together pretty quickly when you asked for them, and I do a lot of stuff this time of year, so I don't remember. I can look it up. But I was about to hit you with the Rodgers and Favre are in the top 10 unless they were omitted completely.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
like the dumbest thing in the world, but like try to troll for somebody there.
Right. So that'll be coming out very soon. And then me and Mike talked about it. I'm going to be doing an individual projects on Substack, just kind of like a dabble here and there. If you want to support it monetarily because you like me, that's great. You'll get a couple extra things per month. But more or less, it's just for me to put some more creative flow, my usual sounding tone when I write, with maybe a hint of a few more swears every once in a while to spice things up. But just a little individual thing for me to do. And like I said, if you want to support it, I'll let you know when it's out. You can either just follow for free, or if you want to give me a little bit of cash, that's always fun too. But be sure to subscribe to this channel if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a review if you're listening as a podcast. We are getting very, very close to football season being officially back. So thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll talk to you very soon on the Pump Fake.